Autism. What does it mean to me? On April 24th of 1997, a married couple had a new baby girl. She was petite and her parents were very blessed to have her as a new addition to the family. However, something wasn't right with the newborn female because the crying soon turned to screaming. What the couple didn't know was that the baby was born with Asperger's. This is the beginning of my story and my life with autism with all the truth. As I earlier stated, I was a child that made even horror movie screams sound like mere whispers. Aside from loud shrieking, I was a curious child and wondered about the world's greatest features. One day, when I was 3 years old, my parents learned shocking news when they took me to the doctor. The doc said that I had Asperger syndrome, a member of the autism spectrum. None of us knew what was going to come of me, but we all knew it wasn't going to be easy. My school days were actually tougher than my days at home. Aside from my simultaneous meltdowns, the teachers were frustrated with my behavior almost all the time. In fact, I was bullied by a bus driver at the age of 5, and she probably didn't know that I was special. Once I moved to a kindergarten where my parents felt like I belonged, my terrible learning paths began to move in a better direction. The kids thought that my autism was unfair, and so did I, until I got older. When I moved on to grade school, I was able to control my autistic nature somewhat better than before. At that point in life, I met teachers who understood how I was different from the other students. In fact, I met a few students who acted in a similar fashion as I did. However, I was also bullied by those who maybe didn't know why I behaved the way I did. Because of this, I didn't respond well towards being made fun of, and often got into trouble for fighting back. But as I got to 4th grade, I was able to endure all the teasing with barely any scratches. And then I moved on to the middle school portion of my educational life. I made more friends with both students and teachers. But, like before, if there was anything negative towards me, it took the principal only one phone call to send me home. As I moved on towards 7th grade, my parents noticed immediate positive changes like less meltdowns. Despite certain drama me and my friends get into because of others who just wanted to cause pain to us, the memories of happiness always came back to me. As I mentioned before, I was bullied by a bus driver for what seemed to be for my yelling. However, as I look back at that tragic moment, I find it unfair because it was discrimination from an adult figure. It almost felt like citizens with any kind of autism, like me, were treated poorly because they have a disability. But since folks have been more aware of autism, they've treated autistic densians, like me, much more equally than before. And as years go by, Asperger's and the other parts of the spectrum will be part of the equilibrium. Aside from being diagnosed that's only found in some people, my social life is probably my biggest struggle. I've always been superior at schoolwork than I have been at talking to others. In fact, it almost feels like the only person I'm able to talk to with no problems is me. However, I'm currently improving my speaking skills, and I can relate to others who have a hard time being social. By stepping out of the comfort bubble, everyone can share thoughts that can lead to a happier state with goodwill. I've been able to make plenty of friends in the past simply because of autism awareness. By sharing the knowledge of my differences with other children, they've been able to get along with me and other kids who have what I have. It's also been a pleasure for teachers as well, since they know how to handle certain scenarios that seem more difficult for autistic kids than regular students. It's also the optimistic tone that comes with what I say that makes the message clear. I dream of a great generation for the new autistic citizens that enter the earth. My route to set out autism's definition has helped out all citizens by explaining diversity's deeper meaning. When the school
learned about my interesting difference, patience began to form for the normal children as they got a better understanding. There are still some who are stubborn and disrespect those who are diagnosed. And while this truly breaks my heart, I hope they see the light someday. Other than that, everyone has been able to benefit and get along with the autistic community. Today, I'm leaning back into my old ways of talking to myself and being inappropriate. However, I'm getting the help I need to behave like everyone else in public. I might discourage myself when I do certain actions, but I remind myself how far I've gotten with my talents. Autism has brought me this far in life, and it will continue to contribute to my later accomplishments. While many people call the spectrum of autism a disorder, I call it a gift I was born with.